Welcome to the programme. I'm Sam Smith. I was standing in for Vincent Browne this week and I'm signing off tonight. Next week it's the turn of Ger Collar, and he's the editor of the Star newspaper. But 1 week from today, Larry Murphy will be released from jail. He has served 10 years and 4 months of a 14-year sentence for the rape, abduction and attempted murder of a woman in Wicklow. He's the prime suspect in the disappearance of a number of other women in the same area. MEP Gay Mitchell and journalist Derval MacDonald are joining Professor Barry Sheck to discuss whether Larry Murphy can be released back into society and left to lead a normal life. After the break, Patrick Frayne of the Sunday Tribune and Nicola Talon from the Sunday World will preview tomorrow morning's newspapers. If you'd like to contact the show, you can text the word "tonight" followed by your comment to 53131, or you can email us at tonight@tv3.ie. And don't forget, there's a live blog at politico.ie. Barry Sheck, you're in Ireland this weekend. You run the Innocence Project. You've got apparently 258 people taken off death row. And there's a chapter of your organisation opening in Dublin. Can you tell us about it?
Well, the Griffith University, or Griffith College, I guess you'd say, Professor David Wagnall has organized a group of students, and now they're going to have 4 students from Trinity College, and they're looking at cases of possible miscarriages of justice. And they have quite a number of solicitors, barristers assisting in this enterprise.
Are these celebrated cases, like ones we would know about? And
I think that remains to be seen. They're just people who are claiming that they're innocent, but I really want to emphasize that quite a number of people have solicited the assistance of the Irish Innocence Project, and they are not taking those cases because these people will, claim that they were wrongly convicted, and they review the cases and they say, "No way were you wrongly convicted." They're only looking at the cases that seem to have plausible claims and assigning students, and I think they have about 18 that they're looking at right now, and so there'll be caseworker students paired up with solicitors or barristers and overseen by a really first-rate group. And I think you'll see in sometime that these cases may well come to fruition.
Yeah, it's. Will they in Dublin be working closely with you and your office in New York?
Well, we're going to assist in helping look at these cases. But
are you going to oversee the project?
No. Well, I mean, there's no need for us to oversee it. We'll provide some counsel and advice, but you have absolutely first-rate people looking into these matters, and a core of very idealistic students who are really committed to the idea of trying to find a miscarriage of justice if there's one out there. And, no system is perfect. There probably will be.
And just before we move on to other things, 2 things. There's Innocence Project, the movie, coming out?
Well, there's a movie coming out. It'll premiere on September 11th at the Toronto Film Festival called Conviction. And it stars Hilary Swank, Sam Rockwell, Juliette Lewis, Minnie Driver, Melissa Leo, Peter Gallagher, a fantastic cast. And it's about a real case dealing with an Irish-American woman named Betty Ann Waters, who was from a small town, Ayer, Massachusetts, a family of 9. And her brother was convicted of murder. She was a mother with a high school dropout with 2 children. She watched her brother get convicted, believed he was innocent. He tried to kill himself. She went to visit him in jail, said, "Don't try that again." And he said, "I will not kill myself if you become a lawyer and prove my innocence and get me out. And you can't make this up." But she went to college. She went to law school, and then she got him out of jail. True story, and she's really quite an amazing woman.
Hilary Swank, I presume, will play that.
Hilary Swank will play her, but wait till you meet the real Betty Ann Waters, because I have no doubt that this movie is very good. It's being distributed by Fox Searchlight. They think there's maybe 3 possible Academy Award nominations because the performances are so good. And look, I'm biased. I've seen it. I've been working on this project 8 years, but I think that's true. And But the real star of this will be the real Betty Ann Waters, who is going to be working with Innocence Projects. There are 50 of them in the United States. There's one formed here now in Ireland. There's some in Finland, Sweden, the United Kingdom, and you'll meet her.
Well, we will. And just before we move on,
Irish-American.
Is there any interview you've ever given when you haven't been asked about O.J. Simpson?
Yeah. Plenty.
Well, now that's news. Tell me, O.J. wasn't jailed on your watch, although he is serving a very long sentence now, isn't he? Yeah.
I think so. He was convicted of
in Las
something
Vegas.
in Las Vegas.
Yeah. You were satisfied you did the best job that you could professionally when you represented him?
Well, yes, and it's a terrible case for the criminal justice system, but one interesting thing that came out of it is that what we dealt with was the forensic evidence, the crime scene evidence, and nobody disputes that the questions that we raised about that were right. And in fact, the prosecutors from that case I've been working with now for, it's close to 20 years, Sam. Yeah. And we've used that as an example on trained police officers all across the United States and the world, frankly, on how to collect crime scene evidence, how to do DNA testing, and how to find the right guy. Because, Innocence Projects are devoted to not just exonerating people who are wrongfully convicted, but over half the cases, the real assailant has been identified. So just think of it, every time an innocent person is convicted, the real person is out there free to commit more crimes. So it's in everybody's interest to correct these miscarriages.
Well, one of the things, of course, that we're talking about tonight, and I do think you've read some preliminary things of this guy, Larry Murphy, that is a case that really upsets a lot of people in Ireland. The wounds are still very fresh. Is that the sort of case where, if there was DNA evidence, that it could play a strong role?
Well, one looks at the unsolved cases, and I imagine if they actually find some of the people that were killed and are able to examine the crime scene, there may well be trace evidence that could be linked to the person who committed those crimes.
Except the bodies are missing.
Right.
He is suspected of murdering a number of people. No, he is the prime suspect. But it's not. And I'll ask you about that. Have you been following this case about this man, Larry Murphy?
Yeah, I was just on Facebook this evening just before I come out, and there is a "Don't Let Larry Murphy Out" Facebook page with over 12,000 people on it just at present, and the comments on that is amazing. But he has served 10 years of a 14-year sentence. The maximum sentence for a rape is life. He wasn't imposed with a life sentence. Had he been imposed with a life sentence, I'm sure that any Justice Minister would exercise his discretion not to let Larry Murphy out. But he did get a 14-year sentence for what was a very violent rape and an attempted murder. But we can't keep
and
people
an abduction.
and we can't keep. He is entitled to be released. I would have preferred to see him serve the full 14-year sentence, but he is entitled to be released because we don't have a system where you have preventative detention into the future, or you can't.
No, but he could be kept under surveillance,
and he will be, and he'll be kept under.
Will he be kept under?
He'll be kept under overt surveillance, covert surveillance. But here's the other issue: he's going to be kept under media surveillance. In the sense that everybody in this country will be appraised of how he looks like. Every town and village that he goes to, tries to settle, he will be continually. I've no doubt about that. He will.
Well, that's trial by tabloid to some extent.
And it is, and it's an issue. It came up in another case recently in a privacy context in relation to another convicted rapist. But he is the primary suspect, but his status is no more than that, and no matter how strong the Gardaí feel about it, no matter how strong the public feel about it, until there is evidence to bring him forth on those charges, that's what his status is in relation to that. And no matter how much of a public risk we may feel that he is, we can't lock him away into the future because we think that we know that we did it, because we don't. We can't internally.
Gay Mitchell, you must remember that. You live not that far from the Dublin Mountains and on into Wicklow and so on. What do you feel about this guy getting out? And it's a week from tomorrow.
Who could forget the case? It was one of the most vicious cases ever. The woman is lucky to be alive. People came across the assault, and it was only then that she was freed. So,
can you remember the circumstances? Is that this man was in the mountains. He had stalked the woman. He had taken her up there. He had broken her nose. He had locked her in the boot of the car. He had put a plastic bag over her head, believed that was when he was going to kill her, and only some men were out allegedly poaching deer and spotted him.
Spotted him and apparently knew him or could identify him. And then he went home, according to reports, and showered and got into bed with his wife and behaved as if the wife had nothing to do with this. Of course, she was very innocent. But I was listening to what Barry said about the case for the innocents, and I believe in law and order, but that means you have to believe in the rule of law. And I think it's a good thing if there is anybody in prison who should not be in prison, they are there because the rule is that there has to be beyond reasonable doubt is, I think, the measure that's used when you're sentenced. But that doesn't mean that it's beyond any doubt. And if there is a doubt or evidence, then in that case, I welcome the review of innocence. But there should be some similar facility made available to the Gardaí where somebody, where there is prima facie evidence or strong suspicion that somebody who has committed a particularly vile offence and would have gone much further had he not been disturbed, may have been involved in other offences.
I.e., we're talking there obviously about Larry Murphy, aren't you?
Well, there should similarly be available to the Gardaí, and there is a new fresh review team, but also researchers and academics and people who should give them the support to go after people who they have some reason to suspect may have been involved in other.
Well,